And we're back with the exciting conclusion of the front suspension and front brake rebuild on the GMT400 truck that is behind me, known as ETCG Dad's truck. I should also state that this is a two-wheel drive truck. If you have a four-wheel drive truck, obviously your suspension will be a bit different up front, so this video won't help you in that regard. However, if it's two-wheel drive, I got you. Totally got you. Links in the description to previous videos in the series, so if you want to catch up on what's going on with ETCG Dad's truck. I'm putting this thing together so my dad can drive it on the power tour here in the not too distant future, and as you can see, I still got some work to do, and you probably want to get to watching that video, so let's get to that right now and we'll catch up at the end. So, important discovery, now that it's on the ground, that tie rod's coming into contact with a stabilizer bar at full drop. Might as well take care of the upper shock mounts while I'm here. Like that, or like that. I'm thinking like that. Putting these in with that piece that's sticking out facing down. Same as with the stabilizer links, you don't want to run them down till the bushing split, you just want to run them down till the bushing starts to squish. Which I may have to hold it because it's just spinning. Now let's hit the locking part. Great. Can't forget these upper ball joints. Viewers, you've been watching an idiot this whole time. Yes, that's correct. EricTheCarGuy is an idiot. I'm an idiot because I believe I installed the stabilizer bar upside down. I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to try again. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Half the viewers for the past few minutes have been screaming at the screen, Eric, you're doing it wrong. Yes, I was. In my defense, I did discover it before I drove it. Well, look at that. There's all kinds of clearance now. It's like it was made that way. Sometimes you just need to walk away for a second, take a look, and realize what an idiot you're being. Or actually, this was a part of my plan the whole time. I call this pre-crushing the stabilizer link sleeves or bushings. It's good to do that. Pre-crush them. Let's see how this works now. Hey, look at that. It was made that way. And now it's coming into contact with the steering stop. We're good. I never tightened these lower control arm bolts down. I never ran them down or anything. Now, I'm gonna make them snug now, but I'm gonna torque them while it's on the ground and the suspension is loaded. As long as I'm snugging up control arms, I figure I'll do these upper control arm bolts too. Also, this is gonna need to come loose and be moved around for an alignment, but I don't want this coming apart on a test drive or whatever on me. I almost think, I remember, because these cam bolts help adjust the alignment, I almost think I remember these being like this, sort of in a neutral position. These had these little rubber gaskets on the back, these backing plates here. The big hole will go towards the steering, I believe. Yeah, that's how that would go on. Wow, that's a piece of wood. I have not seen a piece of wood inside of packing material, and I can't remember when. Good thing it's there too, because obviously it would have busted through the box, and it almost did. Ooh, check these out. They're like for the space shuttle. These are my very special brake pads. I'm encouraged to see the beveled edges. That usually means decent pads. There's something to that. It helps prevent noise or when it beds in or something like that, but Brake pads with beveled edges. I guess that means race. So they give you less pad, it makes it lighter so you can go faster. That's what that is. This is my bearing greaser, which obviously it's covered with a little bit of dust. I haven't used it in a while, but I'm thankful that it's stocked with plenty of grease. I need some of this grease. I want it all to be the same because I want to put a little bit of grease down on the inside of these rotors just to help prevent a little bit of rust. And these are my bearing seals. A little help from my friends at Smythe for these. So that's the seals, and that's the same number there. It's just greased out, whatever. And these are my bearings. They're two different sizes. So these are the bearings that I have, and I'm hoping they will work. And I'm just going to test fit them inside these rotors real quick before I put them on. All right, these come with their own race. That seems like it'll work. Or do I want to change them out for these races? Because these races look better than the races that are in there. I mean, I have the technology. Or I can save myself some time and just say, heck with it. All right, I've decided to swap the races. And the reason, if you can, I'll get you a light, you can just take a look at the difference between these two, and you kind of see what I'm talking about. And the stuff inside the rotors doesn't look as good as the stuff with the new bearings. So I'm just going to change them out. You get purchase on these, you just knock them out. Now I think we can see the difference. Seal driver. I'll link it in the description. Seal/race driver. It's a race driver. Good. Good. And if you're wondering, I'm not even touching the race when I put this in here like this. And yuckies down in here. Yep, it's in. That was extra work, but I think it'll be worth it. I'm gonna clean off the rotor for the rust inhibitor. Best thing to use is soap and water. This'll work. I'm going to do the races on both. I'm going to keep the bearings with the races they came with. I'm just keeping the stuff up here for now. I'm just lining them up. So that's how good I am. Wow, that one was rusted in a little bit. These had a chance to get rusted in here. Wow, what's all that mess? That's not cool at all. Look what happened. That wasn't me. I mean, it's not going to mean anything. We just got to clean it all out. You know, the bearing's going to ride on the race, and the seal's going to take care of the rest. But having this break out like that while taking out a race, that doesn't seem right. It was just along that ridge. These don't get lubricated. It's an interference fit. That's why I have to knock them in and out. So don't put any grease or anything down in here. And you can knock these in doing this, but oh man, it takes forever and you might damage the edge. This is like the best thing, honestly. You know it's in because the noise changes. And I don't recall making that damage on the inside of this, but I guess I did when I was holding the lady's slipper there. Okay, back to where we were before we started. I was adding a bit of grease to the inside of where the bearings live. And I don't feel that a lot is required in here, but I do like to put some in there for inhibiting rust. Maybe I'll try to cut it off right down through that groove. Ah, there we are. Whew. Also, I'm going to put grease back here. Now I've done a complete video on this type of brake setup. I'll link it down in the description. These are called tapered roller bearings, and as I said, I've done a complete video on this. This is a bearing packer. You take said bearing, drop it in there like so, then you take the cone, you put it on top of it, and this is a little bit of extra grease, but all you need to do is push this down long enough for grease to start to come out the top of the bearing, which you might be able to see there. There you are. And once that happens, once you see those little things, you are done greasing that bearing. I don't mind extra. Just not too much extra. Next will be our bearing seal, which we do not want to install dry, but we've already put a little bit on the inside of the spindle anyway. So it's not going to go on completely dry. Wow, that seems like it went in super easy, but it's the same type of seal that was in there. Let's get our front bearing packed and ready. Now that all assembled, very carefully, right down the middle. So what the heck just happened? A, I couldn't get the rotor on. B, I've got a cold. And that was just a few seconds between that last clip and this one. All right, well, I've gotten an education between the last clip and this one, and about a week's time has passed. What I found out is these trucks used light duty brakes, which used 1-inch thick rotors from 1988 through 1991, 92-ish. And then at that point, they offered heavy duty brakes, which had 1¼ inch thick rotors. The spindles that I have on this truck are for the heavy duty brakes with the 1¼ inch rotors. Because of that, this part of the spindle is thicker and my rotors will not slide on with the bearings that I have now. I've since gone back to Summit, and they have actually made a correction on their website, because I went through their whole parts finder and it said, yes, this part fits your vehicle. Well, they've since corrected that, but that's where I got caught. Anyway, I now have the correct spindles, and I'm going to take these off and put the other spindles on, and then we're going to try again. And I will get this right. But I will say this, don't wait like weeks time between taking it apart and putting it back together, because you might put things on backwards, upside down, and have the wrong parts. I guess also check your parts fitment as well. Lessons learned from Eric the Car Guy. You're welcome. I need my backing plate back. Also need this little rubber seal. I'm going to try and do both sides simultaneously here. I'm sure that somebody will ask the question, why not upgrade to the heavy-duty rotors since you already have these spindles and things installed? Thought about that, but that's going to necessitate getting larger calipers as well as different rotors. This is just replacing one part as opposed to two. If I want to down the road, well, I'm sure they're not going to take these spindles back after I've already modified them. So I'll still have these spindles, so if I want to upgrade to larger brakes in the future, I'll have that ability. But for now, it seems the easiest thing to do is just swap out the knuckles. Since I already have the shocks installed and we know that coil springs want to kill us, I'm going to tighten the nut down on the shocks, or take the opportunity to do that now, so that that's all held in place to lessen the danger. And this is a 1/4 inch wrench that's holding the top of the shock loosely, but it's keeping it from spinning, which is all I need. Don't want to over tighten. The shock is holding everything in place now. So I've tightened that down. Theoretically, this won't be able to go down because the shock is going to hold that whole thing together. So if this comes flying apart, well, we'll know I did it wrong. No flying apart.
Old spindle off. It's weird calling this an old spindle. On the, well, I'm not sure if it's the left or right for you. This one is going to be the one I just removed for heavy duty rotors. It has a spindle that's roughly 1.37 inches. This one, considerably smaller at 1.24, about 1.25 inches on these. So there's the difference visually as far as what I see. I am wondering if I'm also going to have to machine the top of this to accommodate full droop and still be able to steer the truck. But there's your differences. Spindles are very different. I'm just going to tighten this one because it's not really going anywhere. If I end up doing any machining, it'll be on the car. I keep calling it a car. This is a truck. It's my truck. It's a truck, Eric. Call it a truck. Before I even go to install these, I've taken my inner bearing. It's a little snug. It needs a little cleaning, but it does slide down onto the shaft, so I know these should work. Yep. Same problem. And now we grind. Right, let's check it. Oh, got miles of room. I'm going to do this though. I'm going to lay a coat of paint on this while I go and work on the other side. Give this a second to tack up and dry a little bit before I put it back together. Double protection. I don't want this to go to waste. Can't waste good lube. I really don't know how much I actually saved. That was useless. I'll leave some of it on there as like a rust inhibitor. Here's another fun fact. I've been saying their name wrong this whole time. It's not McGaffey's, it's McGoy's. Sorry guys. Hey McGoy's, how about casting these things so I don't have to do any of this machining? I know I'm going to have to do it, so I'm just going to do it. Let's check. Yeah, that's good. Voila. Uh-oh. I should check the other side. This side needs more machining, unfortunately. This side's good. Really? It's way better. It's still a bit close here, like right there, but I can just kiss that a little bit. I decided to check it before I painted it this time. Probably not a bad idea. Figured we'd give that side a chance to set up and dry. Ooh, before I do that, I'm going to clean the spindle up a little bit with a scrubby cloth, just a scrubby pad. Give my sealing and mating surfaces a fresh start. As I've stated, I've got a complete video on doing these brakes / bearings. It goes into a lot more detail, and it's also on a Chevy truck. All right, spin it, tighten, spin it, tighten. And I know somebody's going to say something about the direction of those swirly things. I don't know if these are directional or not, but these get no preload, so you just, till they're snug, and then you find where the cotter pin fits. They do need a little bit of play, just a little bit. You don't want to tighten them down. And this is like right in between, of course. I'm going to check to see if these have a left and a right to them. Sometimes they do because of the direction of these swirly things. I've noticed on this one, there is an L, which I'm going to interpret as left. We're on the right side, so technically I'd have this on the wrong side. This one has an R, so I'm just gonna go by what it says. Sorry to skip around on you, but it just seems to me the easiest thing to do is take that rotor off of that side and just move it over to this side rather than taking it over to the bench. So I'm gonna put this back together, get the backing plate, get it all ready to go to accept the new rotor, and then we'll do the transfer. Did you know that technically this is not a backing plate? It's a splash shield. It's only when it's like drum brakes or something like that that they call it a backing plate. This is actually referred to as a splash shield. Somebody made me aware of that at some point, or wanted me to be aware of that at some point, can't remember. Check it out, people. A whole thing of cotter pins that I forgot that I had on my bench that I just got for this thing. So yeah, got my cotter pin. We're all good. That's how I do them anyway. My cherry on top. That's kind of hypnotic. You will watch ETCG videos. You will watch them day and night. You will click on the ads. Click on the ads. Just so cool how it does that, right? Remember a little lube inside the bearing seal? Spoonful of sugar, people. Helps medicine go down. You will watch ETCG videos day and night. ETCG is your favorite channel. Follow him on social media. You're very good looking because you watch ETCG. I am excited, viewers. We have rotors on the truck and the spindles are on the truck and those things appear to be correct, so now it's time to install calipers. Before we got to this point, I made sure everything fit. One of the things I found when I was trying to fit these new brake pads to these old calipers was that this has these locating pins, or these new pads have the locating pins up at the top like this. Whenever I tried to install them into the caliper, it might be even easier to show you like this, these were fitting kind of snug and they didn't want to move a lot. And I want my brake pads to move and slide properly. So I went in with my die grinder and I cleaned up these edges so that now it goes in there easily. So there's no no worry about things hanging up. But I need to modify this brake pad in order to fit with this guy. And I'm just using like a mini flappy wheel on my angle die grinder. Make short work of it. Goes in there easily now. Whenever there's a mating surface like what I have with these brake pads, I'll take a little bit of anti-seize and just put it on those points just for a little bit of extra lubrication. Hopefully help prevent a little bit of corrosion. I have the right side caliper in my hand. I found it's easier to put the outer pad in first. They have the brake indicators. I like to put them at the bottom. Honestly, I don't think it matters if you put them at the bottom or the top. These tend to fight a little bit. You just have to hold your tongue just right. Make sure it's all seated down in there completely. There's like a locator tab. So make sure it's seated in. Now I can insert the inner pad, which has the spring that goes inside of the piston. I'm just going to prep both calipers right now. This is the mating surface where the caliper rides and slides back and forth, and I noticed this little ding here, and I'm just going to smooth that out with that same roll-lock disc that I used to modify the brake pads to get rid of that little burr that's sticking up. It only took a second. On that same mating surface, I'm also going to take some anti-seize so that the caliper rides in this area nicely. There's also the top here. Install the caliper. Now I want to install my new steel braided brake lines. They're not on an offset, which I'm a little disappointed about, because it would be nice if they were just pointed away from the caliper a little bit to help routing, which I might end up doing a little bit of that myself. I'm going to use the old caliper or brake line bolt. It came with new sealing washers, and I'm so happy that they are not copper. Those of you that watch my show on any kind of regular basis know that I'm not a fan of copper sealing washers. One on the top like this, and then the other one on the bottom like that. And then into the back of the caliper. I'm not going to tighten that down yet because I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to position it. So the other end of this will come up and terminate up here, but I also wanted to reuse my brackets. I don't know if you remember these guys from way back. I thought they might be helpful. Looks like they're going to bend it quite a bit. But first, I guess we'll hook it up to the hard line. Take off my cap that I left there for it. And these came with these C-clips that should hold them in place. Well, I don't like that at all. It sort of looks like my old clips might work here. I kind of like that better. Here's my bracket, which I will tighten up once I get everything complete here. So in other words, I'm trying to get everything into position before I lock all this down. Give me my wrench back. I need more force. Let's give this a try. That's gonna do nothing. I don't like this flopping around in here, going over bumps, and just generally not being held down and controlled. Therefore, I'm gonna mark where I like it, which seems to be about there. I'll mark it right there. And I'm gonna take it off and over to my vise. That was right about there. That is not flopping around. Yeah, I can live with that. What I'll do now is I'll lock down the line on the caliper, and then I'll try the full sweep. I'll go from one side to the other just to see. Yeah, let's unlock. Just to see how it moves. And that's awesome. So reuse the stock brackets. That'll keep your brake hoses from going where you don't want them to. Yeah, I'm totally good with that. I'm gonna angle this down just a little. I like it. And now for the bleeder. Now we do the other side. I suppose you could just install these without these brackets. I like it with the bracket. Like if you angled the caliper connection down like this, it would probably work just fine. This time I'm also going to mark the top that's supposed to go into the groove, and that way I can kind of get the orientation right. Don't forget the inner sealing washer, Eric. Okay, thanks for reminding me. I'm gonna check it for interference. Oh, that's excellent. I'm happy with that. Brian and I are now going to bleed out the brakes. We only need to do the front since that's all we messed with. All right, Brian, pump them up. You got a brake pedal already? That's encouraging. Yeah, I'm actually seeing caliper movement out here. Hold up, I'm hearing gushy air kind of gunk. Pump them up and hold them. All right, hold it. Pump it up. All right, pump it up. Hold it. Is it going all the way to the floor?
No.
Fantastic. About halfway down?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'll top off the master cylinder and we'll call that done because I'm not seeing any air coming out. That was a long, strange trip for sure, but we're finally here. It's together. It's looking good. Let's get these wheels on. Let's get it down on the ground, get a look at the stance, but also let's not forget I need to torque those lower control arm bolts. Once we've done that, take it out for a test drive, see what it does. It's getting real. New lug nuts, shiny new lug nuts. Locking lug nut, not like it's really necessary with these deep well things, but I like my wheels. I'd like to keep them also. Normal sound, the brake pads are rubbing against the rotor, but I'm excited. Feels like it's been a month since these wheels have been on here. It's big reveal time. 2-inch drop in the front. I finally get to see it. That was a lot of work to get here. Cool. Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, that's exactly where I want it. Yes. Yes. Now just looking at it, I can tell that I just need to do an eyeball camber adjustment just to start with, because it's cambered out pretty good. But that's honestly an easy adjustment. I love it. I love it. It's amazing what 2 inches, the difference 2 inches makes. All right, we'll cut that out. That is one sexy truck. That is one sexy. It was sexy before, but it's double sexy now. Can't wait to hear the noise it makes when it wakes up for the first time. You might remember I disconnected the battery so the brake lights would go off. All right, now we got power. Ooh, have to snug that up. I'm gonna back it up, pull it forward so the suspension settles a little bit. Then I'm gonna torque those lower control arm bolts, slide up under there, get that done. And I wanna adjust the camber because to me, those tires are way off, and I can eyeball it better than that. And that's not gonna be too hard to do, just to at least get it in a ballpark. I'm trying out my new gear wrench, torque wrench here. And these lower control arm bolts get torqued to 96 foot-pounds. And I'm noticing it's telling me the torque where I'm at. That was 86, not 96. 84. Is it just me or is this? I'm gonna put a wrench on that bolt on the other side. Don't hurt the paint, Eric. Now we're getting somewhere. That's it. It's like, well, make up your mind. Is it torqued enough or not? 91.2. I guess we'll call that tight. Just gonna recheck this one last time. It's set for 96. I'm gonna say 98 is fine, so it's 2 foot-pounds off. Thank you, I need my wrench back. After about 500 miles or so, you need to come back and do this again. I have no purchase here. Let's try something different. A 5.6. Fine. 0.4 it is. All right. 93? Why are you making this weird? Why are you beeping when you're not at the proper torque? We've got some getting to know each other to do. Now 77. The torque wrench that gives you random numbers.
Sounds useful.
Gear wrench. 77. 24. Bingo! All right. I'm gonna say that's in the 90s. 95.3, flashy flash. 93.7, 49, 60 something. I need to learn how to use this. 93.9. Playing your favorite hits from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Let's hope my camber adjustment goes better than this. I'm gonna call that torqued. Once again, come back like 500 miles or so, retorque everything on the suspension, just to be sure. Let's see if we can get some better camber out of this thing before we go out and drive it. I don't want to kill my new tires. First thing I'm gonna do is snug this one up, because this one was not snug. These are cam bolts on the front and the back here. They've got those giant washers and everything's offset. These are what set camber and caster. I'm just going to try to eyeball camber. I'm not even going to try caster right now, or I might get something approximate. I'm going to try to make these two somewhat even. I'm going to move them with the wrench. Since I need to bring the top of the tire in, this elliptical needs to go further in like that on both the front and the back. Need to bring it in. There we go. Is the circle coming around?
Oh yeah.
Is it like the one in the front now?
It's pretty close.
When they do get tightened, I'm not going to tighten them down until I've done the alignment, but they're 88 foot-pounds. I say the easiest one for last. That seemed like a lot of effort. Well, we can't forget to torque the wheels, so maybe me and this torque wrench will get along with this. And I'm torquing these down to 80 foot-pounds for now. It's 78.380. Why are you beeping? Oh, you vibrate too. Interesting. I love it. Job one before we really get out on the road is I want to turn it lock to lock, drive really slow and listen. I want to make sure that nothing under there is contacting anything it shouldn't be contacting. So do it to the left, well, start at the right. Just go full lock. I don't hear anything abnormal there. And it's coasting. Like if it was stopping immediately doing this, I'd be worried, but it's not. Definitely needs an alignment, but right now, feels pretty good. Steering feels tighter than ever. It should. Okay. Let's burn these brakes in. Well, it's definitely not any faster. Holy cow, my steering wheel's almost straight. Ooh, those brakes feel really good. And I haven't even gotten them properly heated up yet and burned in. Oh yeah, those brakes have never felt this good on this truck. It needed those front brake lines, those steel braided lines and everything else. Holy cow. Feels tight, feels real solid on the road. Oh yes. I'm going to be getting kind of annoying here, just heating the brakes up because I want to make sure they burn in good. So I'll be doing this. Oh yeah. Oh, that's freaking awesome. That feels great. Like, great. It has never felt this solid, ever, ever. I've only got so many of these before the people behind me get caught up. So I'm trying to get as many as I can in before I'm jamming up traffic. Ooh, a check engine light's on. I wonder if it's for an O2 sensor. Now I'm gonna drive around normally for a bit. Now that I've got them nice and hot, let them cool down. We'll head back to the shop, recheck everything, make sure it's all good. We'll wrap this up. Front suspension, front brakes on this truck. Done. Awesome too. Really awesome. Significant improvement. Significant. Taking it out, driven it, suspension should have settled by now, at least a little bit. And now it's time to compare the ride height from what it was stock and to what it is now. And originally on this right front, it was 32 3/4. It looks like now it's about a shade under 31, maybe 30 15/16, or maybe, it might be 30, just a shade over 30 3/4. So that's 2-inch drop. That's almost exactly. It was 32 3/4, and now it's, it looks like 30 3/4. So about 2 inches. And if you recall, the left side was lower, but I swapped springs side to side. So I don't know if that had any effect. Somebody in the comments mentioned that the fuel tank's on this side, and it is a little over half full. So the weight of the fuel might be holding this side down also. I hadn't thought of that, but this measurement here also looks like about 30 3/4. So they're both about the same. So this one started out at 32 1/2, and now it's 30 3/4. So we did in the front get our 2-inch drop. Yay. Now I just took apart this whole front end and put it all back together. That's a whole lot of things that could go wrong. It's a really good idea to go back over everything and look for anything that's loose, check all your fasteners, make sure all your cotter pins are in place. I also worked on the brakes. I want to check the calipers and everything, look for any leaks, any signs that anything I've done could have possibly caused an issue. And I'd rather find that out now before I start driving down the road, and then it's too late. So look over everything after you're done. I love it. I feel like a 6-year-old on Christmas morning. I mean, I love it. I love how this turned out. This was obviously a great deal of effort, but a lot of that effort was due to some of my mistakes and some incorrect parts, but we sorted that out and gave you that information so you don't have to fall into the same traps that I did. But it feels better than ever on the road. I mean, it is solid. It is just fantastic, and I can't wait to get the alignment and everything taken care of so that's all squared away. We still have a lot more work to do on this truck, but I would say that the brakes and suspension are now complete. Once again, you want to come back in about 500 miles or so, go back, retorque everything, both front and back. Anytime you do this kind of suspension work, it's going to take a little time to settle, so you want to make sure you cover that. Links in the description to parts, additional information, stuff like that. Also a link in the description to EricTheCarGuy.com, which is where I ask you to go if you have automotive questions.
Hold on a minute, Eric. You forgot to thank Summit Racing for helping to supply some of the parts used in this video. You also forgot to thank Smythe Automotive for helping to supply some of the parts in this video. Shame on you, Eric. Shame. Anyway, parts and additional information linked in the description. So please check there if you have questions.
Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things that help me make a living and continue to bring you wonderful videos like this. Pretty truck. Come on, pretty truck. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.